everyone that jumped on here. We have a few team members from the Revive team on with us today. So we're going to be going through a bit of a presentation, and then afterwards we're going to open it up for Q&A. So just general best practices when it comes to Revive and their different programs. So Jessica, would you prefer for all the questions to be at the end, or would you like it to be a more interactive session where they ask questions whenever they come up? What would you prefer?
So I love an interactive session. I think it,
Okay.
keeps it a little more interesting. We'll definitely do a Q&A at the end. And of course, sometimes as we go along in the presentations, questions get answered, but I'm definitely happy to toggle back and forth between presenting and checking the chat for questions.
Cool. All right, then as you have questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A or the chat. But Jessica, I will toss it over to you.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. So hi, everyone. Yes, I am from the Revive team. I'm going to do a screen share to kind of keep me on track. All right. So, and I will check the chat. Oh, everyone's saying where they're from. That's great. So we've got all over the place. It's amazing. So I'm going to be talking about a couple of different programs that Revive has. We have our Prepare to Sell program, and we have our Prepare to Buy program. And I'll touch briefly on kind of on our Prepare to Sell. Revive is a company. We've made our name in the industry as a maybe I'll stop sharing for a second, but we've made a name for ourselves in the industry for our Prepare to Sell program. And what that program is Revive is really on a mission to help homeowners and home buyers achieve their real estate goals. And the way that we do that is through pre-sale home renovations. So helping real estate agents and their home sellers prepare their homes for market so they can sell for the absolute most amount of money. In-house, we've got team members who work with the agent and the homeowner to determine the value add of the house. How much is it worth today? How much could it be worth? If you put a certain amount of money in, what is the return on investment? And they help to guide in the right scope and the right budget to get a home ready for market in a turnkey position to sell for the absolute most amount of money. We have contractors in the areas that we do this program in who we fully support. So their contracts, their legal, their design, the material sourcing, the start to finish help in the renovation process so that they can do what they do best, which is get in, get out, get the work done. And Revive pays for everything up front, and we get paid back at closing. So that's kind of a, for you lenders and LOs on the call, that's a really great value add, something to talk to your agents about, something that is another tool that you can educate about, and it's a tool that agents can have in their tool belt. Now, we've been doing this program, it's growing very rapidly, but what we found in today's market was that a lot of home sellers were super interested in this program. Yeah, I'd love to renovate and sell for more, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know where to go. The house needs to be vacant for renovation to be done. And in this market, people are having a really hard time. If they find a house that they love and they put a contingent offer in, they're not winning getting that house. And if they go out and find the house or if they sell their house first, people are a little bit worried about, well, gosh, I'm going to be homeless. I'm going to have to live with the in-laws. What am I going to do? And so that there was a space for a buy before you sell program. Now there's other people out in the market doing this, other companies. You've got the Home Lights and the others of the world. Many of them are lenders. And we did go to them and we tried to figure out how could our programs work together. But what we found with it was there was a lot of red tape around what you could do to your departure residence to use one of these programs. So we thought, why don't we just create a program ourselves? And that is where the Prepare to Buy program was born. And now I'll share my screen and I'll jump into this. So again, this is going to be for those homeowners who are really in that juggling between selling their current home and then locking in their next dream home. And it could also be, you may have these clients who are first-time home buyers. They just want to be able to make non-contingent, quick closing offers to win out in this super competitive cash market. And so I guess going back, at Revive, we decided let's create our own program. This is a program that's sort of agnostic. We're not lenders. And so we rely heavily on our lender partners. So our partners at Art of Home Ownership and the realtors who are in our network as well. And so that's kind of where this program was born. Now I'll talk a little bit through the process. And again, please do ask questions along the way, but the process is as follows for this buy before you sell program. So we first get the client qualified. There's going to be some help from you on that. And then also we qualify them on our end. What Revive does is we step in, we make a non-contingent quick closing offer on the house they would like to purchase. So this is the client's next house. We close, we become the owner, and then we rent that property to the client until they are able to purchase the home back from Revive. So that's kind of high level how it works. So qualification, we buy the house, they rent it from us. When they're in the position to buy it back, they buy it back from us. So the qualification process is as follows. The client does need to have, let's see. Okay, so Jim's asking, is there a list of which markets Revive is in? So yes. So Revive is in a handful of markets for the Prepare to Sell program, the renovation program I was talking about. I can share a list, but just off the top of my head, it's all of California, the state of Washington, the state of Oregon, the state of Florida, Texas, Tennessee. We've just moved into the Carolinas and are moving now into the DMV area. So those are going to be your the heaviest Prepare to Sell programs. Okay, Anna's throwing that in the chat. So California, Texas, Washington, Oregon, Florida, Tennessee, soft launch in the Carolinas and DMV area. For the Prepare to Buy program that I'm going through now, this non-contingent quick closing offers program, we're in actually all markets. The only state that we're not doing business in currently is going to be Nevada. So we can service all across the US for this program. Oh, Deanna, sorry. We're working on some, we're working on a way to get into Nevada, but today we're not. So the qualification process is going to be, they do have to have a fully underwritten TBD loan approval. And they need that through one of our partner lenders. If you're with Art of Homeownership, then that they will need it just from you. A TBD fully underwritten loan approval. We want to make sure that we're getting the clients into a position where they can definitely buy the house back from us and buy it back from us relatively quickly. We don't want any surprises, and we want to always be, working in the best interest of the client. And so we want to make sure that an actual underwriter has looked at the file, and as long as they sell their departure residence, they're going to be approved to buy the house back from us. We're also going to want to make sure that they have 25% of the purchase price of the new home in either equity in their current home or cash or a combo of both. But the qualification essentially is fully underwritten TBD approval and 25% of the purchase price of the new house in equity or cash. So for example, they want to buy $1 million property. They need to have $250,000 of net equity in their current home, or maybe they have some equity and they've got some cash that they can make up the difference. And then lastly, part of the qualification process is going to be a consult call with the Prepare to Buy Revive team. We want to make sure, these programs are sometimes some things can get lost in translation, or there's some fine print. We want to make sure that everyone is fully comfortable with the program as far as the client. And so we like to have a consult call with them after you've introduced them to the program. And we love to be introduced to the agent, and we can all talk together on a call so that everyone can make sure that we're all aligned and that it's a good fit for everyone. Next, I want to talk about a couple of client and agent responsibilities. So when we make an offer on a house, Revive's name is going to be on the contract. So we've qualified the client, we've given them the okay to go shopping, you've qualified them on your side, they're shopping with their agent, they find the house, they bring it to Revive and say, okay, we want this house, can you please make an offer? So we'll take a look at the house, we'll run some comps on it, make sure that it's a house that we want to buy for them, that it's a house that's lendable, that it's, you know, we want to make sure that it's going to be a good buy on our part and their part. And then we'll make the offer, and our name is on the contract as the buyer, but the client is still going to be having some responsibilities, and they're still going to be kind of acting just as if they were buying the house. So they're going to render the earnest money deposit. They're going to do all inspections. Any disclosures that come past Revive's desk are going to be first reviewed by the client and okayed by them. So they're doing all of their due diligence up front so that when they go to buy the house back from us, it's all done. They know that it's the house for them and they're ready to buy it back immediately. We always want an agent involved in these transactions. So agent is never cut out. The agent is going to represent Revive on the purchase, so their commissions still get paid. And we do require that if the client has a house to sell, that they get that ready and get it on the market within 30 days. Of course, if they're in a market where we have our Prepare to Sell program and they're using that, there's some wiggle room with how fast they have to have the house on the market. But in general, they need to be ready to get it on the market and get it sold or get it on the market to sell within 30 days. Now, let's talk a little bit about the costs. This is what most people want to know, and it's what we'll go over in detail with the client when we have our consult call. But the only upfront cost for a client is going to be the earnest money deposit. Let's see, Ron, is that 30 days new? No, I don't know. We've always wanted the house to go on the market immediately, the departure residence. It doesn't have to sell within 30 days. They just need to have it active on the MLS within 30 days of us buying the new house. So they still have a month for moving out, getting the house ready, and getting it on the market. So upfront cost, really, if this is a client who's got a house to sell, the only upfront cost to them is going to be earnest money deposit. The costs going forward for the program are going to be the Revive convenience fee. The Revive convenience fee is 3% of the purchase price of the new home. That's going to be collected. If they don't have a house to sell, we'll collect it up front. If they do have a house to sell, then that is collected when the departure residence closes. That gives them 4 months to repurchase the home from Revive. So 3% convenience fee, but they do need to buy the house back from us within 4 months of when we buy it. Now, they can take longer if they need it. If they need more time to buy the house back from us, totally fine. It just costs them a little bit more. So every 4 months, that percentage goes up 1%. So 3% is the standard fee. It's going to go up 1% every 4 months. We give them a total of 12 months to buy the house back, but it's, you know, they're financially incentivized to buy the house back from us within 4 months. And we're finding pretty much throughout the US in this market, people are able to turn these around in under 4 months. Now, there are some ways to get a discount. Because of your relationship and your partner or your subscription in Art of Home Ownership, your clients who you bring to Revive for this program get a 1/4 point discount on that 3% convenience fee. So your clients immediately are at 2.75%. Now there's one other way to get a little bit more of a discount. If you've got a client who does not have a home to sell, or they just have, if they have 25% cash up front and they don't need to sell the house, or they don't have a house to sell, and they're willing to pay the fee up front and put down a 20% down payment up front, they can get another 1/4 point off of the fee. So the fee for your clients is going to range anywhere from 2.5% to 2.75%. got a few questions coming in. What happens after 12 months if they can't sell their house? Is there a cap on the fee? So yes, the fee caps at 5% for 12 months, but if they can't sell their home, and we'll talk about this in a minute, they're locked into this. We will have a deed of trust on their departure residence. So they need to be a serious seller who's willing to put their house on the market for a reasonable price and sell at a reasonable price. And we'll kind of jump into the these questions and not how it could go wrong, but some of those hard questions that we'll have to ask ourselves and talk to the client about, so they know exactly what they're getting into if this is a program that they are interested in. And then I see the chat, but then there's a
Also
Q&A.
one in the Q&A. I can go ahead and read these to you to make it
Okay,
easier.
I can't see them for some reason.
For the Q&A ones, I'll type in an answer, Val. I'm actually just writing it in right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
thank you.
Okay, perfect. So the convenience fee we've talked about. Then the other fees to use the program are going to be the monthly rent. So rent is going to be collected on a monthly basis during the time period that Revive owns the home before the client buys it back from us. Rent is going to be determined in two ways. There's going to be a like a fair market analysis that will be done for the rent. And then our finance department also runs a simple PITI mortgage calculation. What we don't want is for the client's rent to be less than their future mortgage payment is going to be. That could incentivize someone to be a long-term renter versus buying the house back from us. So we always go over this with the client. Of course, the rent can differ depending on the area, if it has an HOA, the state, the county, etc. But for the most part, we have a few examples. On $1 million property, rent usually falls in the $5,000 to $6,000 range. On a $500,000 property, the rent usually is in that $2,500, $3,000 kind of range. So we will of course go over that in detail with the client when we know where they're from and what they're looking at in their price point. The rent starts on the day that Revive closes escrow on the property. So the day we become the owner, that's the day their rent starts. It's also the day they can move right into the property. And then of course that ends on the day they buy it back from us, and it would be prorated. If they've overpaid any rent, they would get that back. And then the only other cost that we have to consider in this program is going to be closing costs. This is not an extra fee that Revive charges, but we do have two sales happening here. So Revive is buying the property the first time. We're going to have buyer side closing costs. The client is responsible for reimbursing us for those. And then when the client buys the house back from Revive, there are going to be buyer and seller side closing costs that they will take care of. We do try and mitigate some of those costs by using the same, typically the same title escrow company along the way. Sometimes they'll give discounts. And or we always get a title binder or a leave title open so that there's not a second owner's policy that has to go on the property. So that does save some costs there. But we review those closing costs. Of course, those differ depending on state, county, whether there's transfer taxes, etc. So we'll go through that on a case-by-case basis during the consult so that the client, again, knows what they're getting into, make sure it's the right fit for them. Okay. Oh, I've got a panelist question. Can you talk about some of the advantages as compared to the competition? Jumbo loans, locked into the lender, their terms, underwriting on. Sure. So when you may get a client who is either shopping other programs, there are a lot of other programs out there on the market that are doing similar things. Now, what are some of the advantages to using for your clients, the Revive program? So one is that they have a full 12 months to buy the house back from us. Some of the competition has a lot shorter window there. We also will buy houses all the way up to $2 million and even a little bit over with some exceptions. So we have a lot of other programs stop at the conventional loan amount. And so what's nice with this program is that it can go all the way up to a purchase price of $2 million. And we're also operating in, like I said, all of the US, with the exception of Nevada. And so you have a lot of opportunity to help clients in states that maybe other companies are not helping them in. We also are probably the only company out there who is considering what we would call the after renovation value of the departure residence. So when we're doing our underwriting, we are considering the value of the house if they're doing renovations after renovation versus other companies that are just looking at the as-is cost of the house or the value of the house. So hopefully that helps with that question. Now I wanted to lastly talk about, you can see it just down here at the bottom of the screen, the option fee, 20% of the purchase price of the house. Now, again, this sounds scary, it says fee, it is not a fee. What we do is we collect 20% down payment upfront. It's essentially our collateral. So I kind of mentioned this whole deed of trust. So when a client engages Revive and wants to do this program, we put a deed of trust on their departure residence for a 20% down payment, and then the fees that I talked about, the convenience fee, and then the additional closing costs. And when that house sells, we collect that money, we hold on to that 20%, and we put it towards the purchase price of the house when they buy the house back from us. So we always have that 20% collateral that we're holding. That's why we need the 25% when you're qualifying the client. That's why they need to have 25% equity in their home. Let's see, we've got some other questions. Is the initial set of disclosures generated by us the preferred lender, and what will the borrower be proceeding with after the second sale? Brett, I'm a little bit confused on your question. So the initial set of disclosures, you as the lender aren't really involved in the first sale. Revive is buying that. The disclosures that will be coming past our desk are going to be the seller disclosures, and that the agent will be providing to us. So those would be provided by the seller and the agent, and then you would be doing your loan disclosures on the sale when the client buys the house back from us. Ron's asking if there's a copy of the cash offer agreement somewhere in the Art of Home Ownership portal for review by a potential client. So I don't believe, that might be a question for the Art of Home Ownership team. I'm not sure. It's definitely something we could work on.
I was gonna say, if it's not, we can get that from you and make like Art of Home Ownership branded and have it in the partner portal. I am not the best person to ask on that, but I can definitely find out from the team. And then if it is in there, we'll send it out with the recap and make sure that you have a link. But we'll get it in there for sure. I'll make note of it and follow up with the team.
Okay, fantastic. And then similarly with access to marketing materials, we have some great marketing materials on our website. You can even co-brand those materials. I don't know if Art of Home Ownership has some additional marketing materials. If they do, I'm sure they'll send them out after the call, as well as a link to our website with those marketing materials that you can download and co-brand.
Yeah, for sure. We'll make sure that you guys have access to them.
And then Jason is asking, is the purchase price from Revive the same as the cost paid? So yes, whatever we buy that property for, they're buying it back from us at the exact same price. And I want to just end on this last slide, and then we'll definitely go into any more questions. But just a few do's and don'ts, just a review. So we do want to make sure the client is fully underwritten. We always want to protect the client in making sure that we're not getting them into a situation where they cannot buy the house back from us. We want to schedule the Revive client agent consult right away. We definitely have some little less on the lender side, a little more on the agent side, where we get calls, at 5 p.m. on Friday with offers due the next day at noon, and they've heard about the program, they're ready to go. We need a little more time than that. We need you to be able to do your underwritten approval. We want to be able to have a consult with the client. And so if you do have a client you think it's a good fit for, we'll want to schedule that consult right away. Definitely wanting to make sure before we get a client too excited about the program, we want to make sure they're going to qualify. So we're going to want to make sure they have that 25%. And remember, it's not 25% equity just in their home, it's 25% of the new property's value in equity in their current home. And of course, they're going to need some reserves for their earnest money, for the rent they'll be paying on a monthly basis, and of course, their closing costs. We'll want you to be familiar with the Revive contracts and the structure of the sale. I sort of touched on this, but this is structured as a lease with an option to purchase, and that's why we're holding that 20% collateral. And you can definitely present this to your conventional clients. What's unique about our program is it's okay for your jumbo clients, even some non-QM products, if you can get them fully underwritten with a TBD approval. This can work for veterans using a VA program. So they still have to have a 20% collateral, but when it comes down to it, if they want to do a 0% VA loan when they buy the house back from us, we'll simply wire them back their 20%. And that's the same way for your clients that maybe you're structuring them with a 5 or a 10% down loan. Still totally fine. They have to have the 20% for us to hold, but they can. That's their money at the end of the day. We can put whatever they want towards the house and wire them the difference back. And this is not only for homes that are going to be owner occupied. This could be for investors. It's great for a 1031 exchange that they could identify their property and buy that with a 1031 exchange. There's a little bit more, the underwriting's a little tighter on investors, but it can work for them. It does not work for FHA loans, and we don't want this to be used as a rent to own solution. So not a long-term fix your credit type of solution. We want this to be for clients who are wanting to quickly buy the house back from us. And the reason it doesn't work for FHA is going to be because of the flipping rules and the business relationship we've created with the lease. So it just leaves us with too much time for the client to buy the house back from us. So not for FHA, but definitely for your other clients. Okay, great. So it looks like Candace from our team has put a link to our marketing center, and Michael's mentioning that it could be deed of trust or cash. So we touched on it at the beginning that, if your client doesn't have a home to sell, or maybe they do, but they've got a 20%, 25% down in cash, we don't always have to put a deed of trust on the house if they've got that cash. We can collect the cash and hold on to it. That also gives them a little bit of discount in the fee. So many different ways to go, and we can do it either deed of trust or cash. Right. I'm looking in the Q&A. It looks like, okay, looks like Anna answered that question. Okay, great. Yeah, do we have any other questions?
If there are any questions that are a little more in depth, we can also bring people in to talk. So if they want to kind of explain where they're coming from and what their question is, we can always address it in that way.
100%. Yeah, I think if they raise their hand, we can. Here, I'm going to stop this share.
This was great, though. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Questions, anyone on, I think that question was answered in the Q&A. Cool.
Yeah, I was looking up at that right here.
You guys ever thought of using it in reverse? A buyer finds a house and the seller won't do Revive, but the buyer would like to.
The buyer finds a house and the seller, so as far as finding a house, so if the buyer, so if your client finds a house that needs renovations, but the seller doesn't want to do the Revive program, John, I see John is here from our Prepare to Sell program. I could definitely get into this, but John, what do you think? I mean, there's a couple of different ways. I mean, one is going to be special services, and I could definitely talk about that. We have a program and a whole arm of our Prepare to Sell program for clients who want to just do renovations on their own house. We've got a specialty interior designer who works with the clients. It's a little bit of a different program. They pay a design fee, and then we can absolutely help them do that. We don't front the cost for that. They would pay along the way, just like a regular contractor, but can tap into all of the other resources. Okay, perfect. We're going to be jumping into a prepare to sell program intro in just a minute. That will go through that a little bit more. Let's see. Ron's saying with a decent loan to value, it could be valuable. Aaron asks, how does the 3% Revive fee compare to other groups in this market, like Homeward? So what I've been finding is that our fees are very competitive with those of others. Sometimes they may advertise that their fees initially are a little bit lower. What I've found is a lot of these companies, because they're also the lender, are tacking on a lot of fees in other areas that may not be as apparent in their initial fees. So from what I've been hearing from agents and others out in the market, that we're very competitive in the space.
Okay, any last questions, guys, before we hop over to John Salas, our Director of Sales for the Prepare to Sell program? And if there's nothing else, thank you so much, Jess. Val, will we be sending a copy of this recording to all the attendees? Okay,
Yep, recording goes out on Friday, so keep an eye out for that.
Amazing. So we'll have that, and you guys can always visit us at revive.realestate.com and contact us if you have any more follow-up questions. And with that, we'll take it to you, John.
Thanks, Anna. Appreciate it. Okay, so trying to start my video, but it says I can't start because the host has stopped it. So
you should be good now, John.
Okay, perfect. Okay.
Welcome.
All right. Of course. Thank you. So I know, our audience here is primarily lenders. And so I'm, more on the prepare to sell team, which really works with realtors specifically. But of course, we have a common interest as you have really great relationships with agents. And I think this is a program that we can just touch on from the perspective of bringing value to your realtor partners. And so I'll just touch real quickly, high level. This presentation, I mean, it's a longer presentation. So I'm just going to keep it very high level, talk about the problem, why it's a problem, and then just a quick solution that we have for realtors. And then, of course, Anna can put my information in the chat for you guys to have. If you have any more in-depth questions, I'm happy to do some one-on-ones, or just very much shoot me an email. We can answer some questions. And so let me go ahead and share my screen and let me know if you guys can see it here. Okay, yep. Can you guys see my screen? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So yeah, so essentially, our what we're trying to solve for, I mean, we're trying to solve for quite a bit, but I think when it specifically comes to realtors, one of the things that tends to be a problem is we know that, a lot of homeowners, well, every home does need some updates, and they do want to sell quickly and for the best price. And so when it comes to doing those pre-sale renovations, getting sellers to invest cash and the time is actually a kind of a big ask. And so it's often that, realtors kind of don't go that route. And so, and if they do, if for whatever reason they say, the homeowners say, great, let's do some renovations before selling the home, then there's a couple things that happens, which is, realtors end up kind of becoming the project managers. They take on roles of design and sourcing materials, and now adding to the other elements that are involved in renovations, which maybe they weren't necessarily, really signed up for. Another thing is homeowners themselves don't really know where to invest and how much to invest, and really where to put that money. And then oftentimes, you know, the renovation experience in general can fall short. The experience can cause anxiety. It can be unpredictable for a lot of different reasons. And so, you know, the solution that Revive has come up is these three things right here, which is, you know, our background. And I think maybe, you know, Jessica spoke a little bit into the inception of Revive and how this really was one of the first things we started with. It really was about understanding, you know, how can we maximize the value of a property while investing the least amount of money. That is kind of our background originally in professional investing and flipping. And so we're trying to give that guidance to realtors who maybe don't have the experience of doing any renovations, or even, you know, giving those realtors that have experience with doing renovations, giving them kind of a soundboard and a team to collaborate with. And so we're giving the realtors guidance and as well as the homeowners so that we can give them an understanding of, you know, what renovations are going to really make a difference and move the needle in terms of return on investment. And so that's something that we're really solving for. Another thing is the construction side of things. Again, if anybody here has ever done any work with contractors, subcontractors, skilled labor, you know, that experience tends to have some inefficiencies in communication, in the way that, you know, projects are bid, in the way that I would say the project management itself tends to go. So we all have heard those kind of nightmare stories of contractors walking away from jobs to take bigger jobs. There's so many things going on there. And the reality is, because Revive does so much work in our key markets, which right now we're in 7 states, but those key markets that we're in, we're giving these contractors anywhere from 4 to 6 projects every month. And so that gives us the ability to be able to have leverage over their time. And they really become more of a partnership with them. It's a unique relationship that we have with the contractors, because not only are we giving them business, but we're also supporting their business. We're supporting their ability to communicate with clients. We're supporting them by giving them the front end sales. We're supporting these contractors by eliminating all of the headaches that they experience as a contractor and allowing the contractor to just focus on doing the work and swinging a hammer. So those things are what we're providing the contractor, and we're giving them a platform so that they can scale their business. And so it's a very different relationship that we have with our contractors versus maybe a one-time homeowner that uses them for a small bathroom renovation. So that's kind of a unique way that we work with contractors, and gives us leverage over them. And then lastly is that we do front the cost of this renovation, of any renovation. And it's not just renovations, it's staging, it's HVAC systems, it's landscaping, kind of whatever is needed to get the home ready for market. But we front the cost of that, and we wait till the close of escrow to get paid back, and that's secured through a deed of trust. And then we simply, just get paid back once the home sells. And I think another question probably that often is asked is where we make our money. And because of the fact that we have such a great relationship with these contractors, and the fact that we're giving them business and supporting their business, they are essentially paying Revive a portion of their contract. And that relationship, the best way to kind of understand that would be like us getting their wholesale cost, and homeowners pay a competitive retail price. And so that's where Revive makes our money. And it's something that I think really separates us from the competition. And we're really, you've heard of concierges. A lot of them are credit card concierges where they just give you the money. But as you can see, we're solving for so much more. So, I don't want to go too deep. I could very much go much deeper, but I wanted to give at least kind of a high level understanding of the problems and the things we're trying to solve for, at least on the prepare to sell side of things. And this is really a great opportunity to forge new relationships with realtors. And I think for your existing clients to be able to bring them something of value. And so I'd love to set up and have conversations with you and your teams and or your realtors that you work with. But that is really the prepare to sell side of things on my end.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Does
You're very
anyone
welcome.
have questions specifically for John? I know we covered a lot on both sides of presentations today, but anything, I'm sorry, they're mowing the lawn outside, so it's a little noisy right now. But if anyone has questions, please raise your hand. We can bring you in or type it in the Q&A or the chat. If you guys had any, like John, from your perspective, when you see the people who are really taking advantage of these programs, like what would be one tip for you, whether it's something that people do wrong a lot of the time and they should try to avoid, like what would be one tidbit for you, bit of advice?
From the renovation side of things, or from the ways like lenders are utilizing it?
The way that lenders are utilizing it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think it's such a great value add tool to have a conversation with your realtor partners with. I think it's, again, given the space and the changing, shifting market, standing out is going to become even more important. And so this is actually winning listing for realtors. And so I think, you know, coming up with a strategic way to discuss with your realtor partners on how Revive is helping realtors stand out and win listings. And so that we have quite a bit of even marketing material that we can put together that is already on our resources page. But I think that is such a unique opportunity to even forge new relationships and something to kind of use at the forefront of your marketing and lead generation.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that's awesome. Well, I didn't see any other questions come in. I think John's information is also in the chat. So if you want to set up a one-on-one and have that conversation, feel free to schedule with him or reach out to the team. You can always reach out to our team. Aaron is asking, the same may not be directly for John, but does a client have to have 25% cash or equity no matter what?
For the Prepare to Buy program, yes. And for the Prepare to Sell that John's talking about, we do require a 20% equity in the home.
Thank you, Jessica. Sorry, I didn't mean to not address that.
You're fine.
There are a lot of companies doing this. What is different about Revive? I believe we kind of touched on that earlier in the presentation, but did you want to take that, Jessica?
I think I covered that pretty in depth as far as the Prepare to Buy program. I don't know if we're being asked maybe about how we're standing out against other companies with our Prepare to Sell program.
Yeah, I mean, I think on the Prepare to Sell program in general, you know, not a lot of competitors, at least on this side of the country. But I would say one of the things that really makes us stand out is the contractor network and the supported contractors that we work with. I mean, that in itself brings so much value because we're really reserving the contractor's time. We're able to have contractors start projects within 7 days. You know, if anybody's experienced any type of contractor relationship, that in itself is great, tremendous value that we see. And then I'd also add in just the relationship portion of our business and our culture. We are looking to be an extension of these realtors' brands, not just a vendor that they go to call and get pricing. We actually sit with them to make sure that there is going to be a great outcome for everybody involved. And that relationship is what, I mean, this is a relationship business. And so these calls we have with agents are really, you know, those calls are where we're understanding their business, we're understanding who they are. They know me by first name, they can call me, they can text me. That's extremely valuable. And that is a huge part of our culture and understanding where they're at in their business so that we can really provide a solution for them, not just you know, something that fits within the box, but something that can really curtail to that. Every realtor's business is so unique and different. So I'd say we approach things a little bit more hands-on than maybe some of the competitors. And I'd say that is a huge value that they find in working with Revive.
Yeah, and I think that should resonate pretty well with the audience that we have here, because that's really kind of the art of homeownership way of things, is having that more relationship approach to business. So I think that's the cultures are really aligned there for sure. I did see there was a question about the presentation materials. So you guys at the Revive team, if you could just send us those presentation materials and we can make sure that they go out with the recap so everyone has access. That'd be great.
For sure. I'll get that over to you.
Cool. Thanks, Anna. Any last minute questions before we jump here? This was really valuable though today. Thank you guys for coming on with us.
Of course.
You're welcome.
All
Thanks,
right.
guys. Have a great day.
I don't see any other questions, so we'll call it there and we'll see you all next week. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks for having us.
You guys.
Bye.
Bye.